happy World Wellness Day. I want to welcome you to Future Generations University. Today, we are proud to celebrate our alumni, dedicated changemakers who are using what they've learned to uplift their communities, addressing pressing challenges, and inspiring others to do the same. This Alumni Success Sharing session is a platform to highlight their incredible work, sharing valuable insights and fostering connections. We're excited to have you join us as we learn from one of our outstanding alumni and explore how they applied education to drive meaningful change. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, my name is Jenny Totten, and I am an assistant professor, and I teach the bottom-up economics course. And then on the community engagement team, I am the director of youth education and strategic advancement. I'll turn it over to Alex to introduce himself.
Thank you, Jenny. Good morning, everyone. I am Alejandro Vargas. I'm from Peru. I am a public nutritionist. I graduated in the master program in 2009. And actually, I work in Acuaipa Transformation. This is a Spain organization. And we worked in a different program of the social and economic development. Thank you.
The presentation is in English, but if there's anything that he's having trouble, like he wants to get more technical, he may explain it in Spanish, and then I will do a translation for him. But please go ahead, Alex. Puedes empezar.
It's a pleasure for me to be in this meeting and to share this presentation. And the name of this presentation is Does Anemi Have a Solution? Reflection and Lesson Learned from the Anemi No Peru programs. Next, please. In this first slide, I would like to share some aspect about the anemia. The anemia occurs when there is not enough hemoglobin in the body to transport oxygen to the organs and tissues. This is mainly caused by pure iron consumption, blood loss caused by parasitic, and inflammation, and other health problems. Also, would like to share is so important when this health problem occur in the first 1,000 days of life from conception to a child's second birthday. A period is characteristic of rapid brain growth and development, and iron deficiency anemia during this time can important impact. For example, cognitive development, motor skill, and behavior regulations. Now, here some evidence about the impact of anemia on children and adults. The first, children who suffer from anemia between 6 and 18 months of age have an average SQRQ of 6 points lower than those who did not suffer from anemia. Others, anemia causes deficits on children's cognitive development, especially in their cognitive, motor, and socialization skills. Others, anemia affects attention, memory, and the acquisition of new concepts. Others increase the probability of dropping out of school compared to healthy children in context of the poverty. Also, pregnant women with anemia have a 2.7 times greater risk of having premature births than women without this problem. Others, in adults, anemia causes productivity loss of 5% in manual hours and 17% in activities requiring intensive physical efforts. And finally, the negative impact of anemia on weight is 4%. Also, the anemia have a consequence in the people, in the family, but also in the society, in the countries. No? specialty in the economic impact on countries. In this slide, I would like to show the evaluation in Peru. Anemia also causes economic loss for countries in Peru. It represents 0.72% of GDP, which represents a loss of approximately $1 billion every year in our country. In this chart, I show some results. For example, the main impact are produced of impaired cognitive with 46%. Also, the impact on schooling and impact on the loss of productivity. This is impact economic is so important because this information, this data, is very important to make decision and give decisions. And now the presentation have 4 parts. The first, the Anemia No program. Second, state of childhood anemia in Peru in the areas of the Anemia No program. Key lessons during the Anemia No program implementation. And finally, some conclusions regarding the sustainability of the impact and expression of the experience. This program was located in South America, in Peru, and specifically in the Ayacucho region, dislocated in the rural areas in Peru. The objective of this program was contribute to the reduction of anemia in children from 6 months old who live in the rural Andean areas by strengthening of national, regional, and local capacities through the contribution on alternative solutions, economically viable, culturally appropriate, and will be sustainable and based on evidence. This program received the support, was implemented by organization Action Against Hunger, and received also economic support from European Community, the Navarra government from Spain, also the Valencia Generali government from Spain also. In this part, I would like to comment about the status of childhood anemia in Peru in the areas of the anemia program. In 2009, the situation was 50% of anemia. Recently, the situation is 43%. The prevalence decreased only in 7%. And national level. In this chart, we can see the difference of prevalence between urban areas and rural areas. We can see the prevalence is more than rural areas than urban areas. For example, 2024 in urban areas, the prevalence is 40%. And in this time, in the rural areas, the prevalence was 51%, 10% more. In this chart, the same is the difference between rural areas and rural areas. During this approximately 15 years ago, is consistent, the prevalence is more than rural areas than urban areas. The difference is approximately 10 point the difference.
Alex, would you like me to comment on this?
Sí, por favor,
Alex,
sí, me puedes ayudar con
okay.
esta parte.
So Alex had explained this to me. The WHO guidelines that were set in 1968 had a the cutoff line for anemia was 11, level 11 in the hemoglobin. And so if you were 10.9, you were considered to be anemic. If you were 11.1, you were no longer considered to be anemic. And so in 2024, the WHO changed the guidelines to be a new lower level for anemia at 10.5. And so for countries across the globe, this new guideline basically changed the anemic levels of the entire country because they had lowered the threshold of what anemia was.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Solo comentar que estos cambios que han ocurrido debido a los cambios que ha indicado la Organización Mundial de la Salud, a pesar de esos cambios, la anemia sigue siendo un problema importante de salud pública en el mundo. Han habido estos cambios, pero la disminución ha sido bastante relativa y sigue siendo un problema.
So Alex was explaining that like these changes, like it diminished the amount of anemia levels across the globe. However, this is still considered to be a chronic issue still in the world for children. But it's important to note the difference of the anemia levels, not because there was a change in health, but because there was a change in the guideline.
In this chart, I would like to impact about the anemia no program. In this graphic, show 3 moments. The first moment in 2013, when the program starting. The second moment in 2017, when the finally of the program, and in 2024, when post-implementation. In this moment, the program doesn't exist because finally in 2017. And this is on the prevalence in these areas. And the first is the first experiences implemented in Higuaín district. This is located in the rural area in Ayacucho. In this case, the reduction of anemia is the 48%. The second place is the Vilcabamba province. This is located in the rural area in Ayacucho also. The reduction is the 72%. And finally is in the Joyani district. And this is located in rural area in the Puno region. Is other region next to the Bolivia. And there the reduction was in 28%. Quisiera acá comentar, si me ayudas, Chris, por favor, que el primer lugar donde se implementó la experiencia fue en Higuaín, luego se implementó en Vilcabamba y luego fue en Joyani.
So the first implementation is from the one that had the 48% reduction in Higuaín. That's where it first started. And the additional provinces, so moving our way to the right, these are different locations that implemented the learnings from Higuaín. And this is how they were able to, so the first case study, and then these are different communities that have added and learned from the first, and this is their ability in which that they've reduced anemia. So each time that they've iterated, they've gotten a better reduction. You can see from the 48-62 to the 98. And it's important to notice here that the program ended in 2017. They had no additional assistance since 2017. So from 2017 to 2024, the additional either sustaining or reduction was all community-led?
In this slide, we show the recognition of the Guayin district for the significant reduction on anemia. This work was authorized by the WHO in the important meeting. Does anemia have a solution? This is a great question to the health technical, and make policymakers and take decisions. Well, in this part, I would like to share different strategies implemented in anemia law programs. The first, in Peru, we have a national plan. Actually, we have a multi-sectorial plan for the prevention and reduction of maternal and child anemia in Peru. And in this national plan, specifically, key intervention or implementation in around the world, no? Across the health post in Peru. And we can see different intervention during the pregnancy, also in the from birth to the 3 years old. The program contribute work with help us and support to implement this key intervention. This is specifically intervention of the anemia program. This is so important for the program. The program implemented different studies, quantitative and qualitative studies, to understand better the situation of anemia, the comprehension of different factors who factor of produce the anemia and contribute many to the understand and to construct strategies, effective strategies. The first was about the anemia for the iron deficiency. The second is a quality study about the consume of sprinklers. Sprinkles is a supplemented, iron supplemented. Also, the next about the consumption on the iron in the diet of the children in the rural areas. Also, impact on economic of anemia in Peru and other studies. There you can see the recommended daily iron intakes. The 6 to 8 months is 11 grams per day. The 9 to 11 months, 11 also. In the 12 to 44 months, 7 grams. But the consumption is very low. It's very, very low. So the consumption of iron is a strong problem in these families, and is a principal cause of anemia by iron deficiency. Another aspect, very important also, but this is a key point to improve in the program. This program was implemented by Action Against Hunger, but it's so important to involve different organizations to generate a social mobilization about this problem. In Peru, was confirmed two important initiatives. The first initiative, Iniciativa contra la Desnutrición Infantil, Also exists la Mesa de Concertación para la Lucha contra la Pobreza. Both initiatives are very important to have a social mobilization and institutional mobilization. Periodically, in different moments, it's important to this meeting to share this recommendation to the authorities of the government to improve the politicals about the enemy in this case and different recommendation for your implementation. But it's so important to a strong work in the local levels, ¿no? Acá quisiera tu ayuda, Chris, señalar que es muy importante trabajar a nivel nacional con los tomadores de decisión, pero no se van a poder generar impactos en la población si no trabajamos en el nivel local y nivel comunitario.
So Alex was saying, like, it's all great when a nation has a directive that they're saying this is what we want to do, but the implementation and how things work is making sure that it is including the communities and the local levels at the local levels, and having the tools that are made available for these communities to go ahead and make this happen, because otherwise it's all a national decision, but without actual a plan of implementation to actually happen on the ground.
Y es muy importante que trabajando en el nivel local y generando cambios en el nivel local, sean estos cambios quienes ayuden a mejorar las políticas públicas a nivel nacional, ¿no?
So it's at the local level that the changes that actually happen and make things work at a national level it's the community that makes it happen on the ground.
Signing of agreement and commitment, ¿no? Also is so important the budget allocation by the local government, because it's not money is not possibility to be activities. An institutional working group for the implementation and monitoring of the collective plans. Their identification of the availability of current ancestral iron-rich food and seasonal consumption, for example. Also identification and understanding of the intrafamily distribution on the iron-rich food. Also the exploration of the consumption of the local food or other substance that block iron absorption, both dietary and supplemental. Identification of sociocultural barriers to the consumption of iron supplements, and determination of motivation aspect within the family to address anemia in child under 3 years age. Acá quería comentar algo también en español, que es muy importante encontrar los aspectos motivadores que puedan tener los padres de familia para generar el cambio, ¿no? En este caso, oiga, no es importante, sí.
Thank you, Alex. Alex was saying it was very important to understand the cultural levers that would motivate families to address these aspects. Alex had explained to me earlier that in this, one of the key motivators for families was anemia's effects on intelligence, versus the effects on maybe statural development. So in comparison of if your child isn't going to have stunted growth, that was not as much of a motivator to address this as your child was not going to be as smart because they were anemic at a young age. And so it was interesting on this cultural study to see which of the aspects motivated families in which to address this issue.
Sí, también uno de los aspectos culturales que identificamos muy potentes en esta zona era la, el arte, ¿no? Que, que puede ser transmitido a través de canciones o de otras manifestaciones culturales, ¿no?
And one of the other motivating factors is the use of arts to be able to transmit the message out. And the right-hand side, you will see, so looking at this, this slide, on the left, you can see the comment or the information about intelligence on how it affects your child and, you know, basically feeding your child iron-rich food. On the right, you can see one of the ways that they were able to get the message out was by using song. And so they would have people singing songs and they would get together to sing, and they would sing songs that had actually the thematic information about anemia in it. And then they would talk about the things that they had sung. And so it was one of the ways to actually get the people together and get them engaged in the topic.
Identify local food and animal origin rich in iron, promoting the rescue and dissemination of ancestral conservation techniques, transferring this lesson to the health sector, and promoting modern leaders as dissemination of the conservation techniques and preparation in the coordination with the health sector. This is a product. These products are very rich in iron. Estos productos son productos que son de la zona, que están disponibles en las familias y que luego son procesados para ser incorporados en las dietas de los niños, ¿no?
So Alex is explaining here that these are products that are locally available, and they're actually ancestral knowledge of these are available. They are techniques that have been used locally of how to have iron-rich food available. So you can see blood jerky on the left, spleen. So blood jerky is actually blood that has been dried out and then created into kind of like a powder. Then you have spleen jerky. On the upper right, you have liver jerky, and then actual meat jerky which comes from mussels. And so these are items that are locally available and have been used in what the families that did not have anemia. So this is one of the key, like the positive deviant techniques that were used amongst families.
Sí, estas técnicas de conservación de alimentos ricos en hierro son técnicas que fueron trabajadas ya durante la época de los incas. O sea, son técnicas ancestrales.
So yeah, these are ancestral techniques that were found in the zone that have been used to conserve elements or food, whether it's of animal origin.
Estas técnicas habían sido casi olvidadas por la población, pero que fueron rescatadas a través de los estudios socioculturales que se hizo, y algunas personas, especialmente las personas mayores, todavía conocían y algunas conservaban esas técnicas.
So these were ancestral techniques that were almost forgotten, but they were revived through this, and they were noted by the elderly population of techniques how to do. And so these techniques were revived through this program of finding the positive things that worked, that were locally available.
Sí, en resumen, lo que trata esas técnicas es que al momento de sacrificar los animales, puedan conservar todos los productos que puedan servir para la alimentación, ¿no? La sangre, las vísceras, la carne, y puedan estos ser conservadas durante tiempo, puedan ser consumidas en el momento que las familias lo necesiten.
So at the time of butchering an animal, all of the byproducts of an animal can be well, they're kept and processed. They're dried out and made into jerky. So even everything is used, and in this case, they're extremely iron rich. So all of these these things help with no waste and other, sorry. Disculpa, Alejandra, es que olvidé exactamente qué ha dicho antes.
Está bien. It's good.
But this is, I mean, basically all of these things where all of the parts of the animal are used, maintained, and then turned into products that are able to be used that are iron rich.
This is a chemical analysis of the iron content in this product. Here show the important contents on the iron of this product, ¿no? For example, en la primera lámina se puede ver en la primera barra de que la necesidad de hierro de un niño de 6 a 12 meses de edad es de 11 miligramos y de un niño de 12 a 35 meses es de 7 miligramos. Pero con solo una cucharada del charqui de vaso, que es un alimento ancestral, consiguen 25 miligramos por día, ¿no? Entonces basta con consumir una cucharada de ese alimento ancestral para cubrir sus requerimientos de hierro.
So here he's showing, you can see, I'm going to move my cursor over here. You can see these two lines. You have 6 to 12 months. This is the daily necessity of iron per day at 11 milligrams. And then you have from 12 to 35 months, it's 7 milligrams. So in a teaspoonful of jerky, whether it's spleen jerky, which a teaspoon has almost 26 milligrams worth of iron in it, or even blood jerky has double the daily amount. With a teaspoon of either of these items, or even if you have one of the lesser items and do multiple teaspoons, these products have enough iron in them in which to reach the daily goals that are needed for children.
In this part, some pictures about the mother leaders conducting demonstration session jointly with helpers, no? Also, the health promoters being trained in ancestral techniques, and other mother and families trained in ancestral techniques and iron-rich foods.
So I'm going to point some things out that Alex explained to me earlier today, or earlier before. So this is a lady who's explaining and showing how to actually do to create these jerkies. So this is the ancestral knowledge that is that has been resuscitated and brought back to show how you can go ahead and create these jerkies. And then you down over here, like the different types of jerkies and how we can be put into food and make it actually so children will eat it. And then just the training, how the different ways of taking the knowledge and bringing it all forward. It's just such a beautiful thing.
In this strategy, was implemented some activities, a strategy to promote dialogue and integration of models. The strategy based on positive deviance, exchange of knowledge and dialogue between models, promote support mechanism between positive deviant model with children without enemy and other model with children with enemy. It was a facilitation and training model leader for the benefit of communities. Some conclusions for the sustainability of impact and expansion of the ANEMI program, ANEMI no program. Some conclusions sustain the impact at the local level. The first, strategies based on viable solution and with sociocultural relevance. The second, permanent promotion of anemia prevention and control practices at home. Recognition of community actors from territories with low level of anemia by local and regional institutions. The recognition is very important. Development of capacities and confidence in the local and community actors for the effective transfer of practical knowledge. Also, promotion and dissemination of the local action model for anemia reduction. Also important, the dissemination of the impact at the three levels, the nivel local and departmental level and national level. Also, the generation of practical interlearning internship in the location of the anemia program. This is an experience transfer. In this training session, participate the different actors of the localities, no? Health promoters, the families, mother leaders, authorities, and others.
Alex also commented to me in this particular, you can see this was built into the program of having an interchange between the communities. So you would learn from your community and then you would host for other people to come and learn from you. So there was an amount of acknowledgement and promotion. So there was pride of being able to show what you've learned, but also going and learning from other communities. That was extremely important in the peer-to-peer knowledge and group learning that was done amongst the communities.
Sí, gracias, Cris. Acá también puedo comentar algo de que las experiencias de transferencia o las pasantías tienen una duración aproximadamente de 2 días, ¿no? Y tienen básicamente 3 momentos. Un primer momento es que las personas van y visitan y conocen todas las experiencias que se han desarrollado en un determinado, en el centro modelo, ¿no? Que es el momento de la visita. Un segundo momento es un trabajo directamente con ellos para analizar cómo estas estrategias que han podido observar en este centro modelo pueden ser adaptados o replicados en sus localidades. Y un tercer momento en el cual hacen un plan de trabajo a ser implementados ahora que retornan a sus localidades.
So Alice was explaining, these are 2-day sessions and they had 3 moments that were very specific. The first is the visitation of the model. So looking at everything that they needed to be learning from, looking at each different aspect, whether it's from visiting the families, visiting the health centers, the mothers groups that they were learning from each other. Also, the second part was they would do an analysis of the different things that they had observed and then being able to look to see how they would adapt it to their local context. When they looked at someone else's community, looking at everything that was working, maybe things that were missing, and if they could go ahead and adapt and adopt that to their own context. So these 2D trainings had an observation, a chance of analysis for adaptation, and then on the third, they came up with the third moment was to do a work plan of how they would go ahead and implement what they had learned throughout this 2-day session.
Some pictures about the pasantía, the internship, the visit and the health centers. Also a familiar visit with children without anemia. Other visit of model support groups and leadership meeting. No?
So I'm going to point this out. You pointed this out earlier. So right here in the health center visits, like this, so you have examples of each one of the different visits that they would do within the 2 days. And here, this was really, I thought this was adorable. These are examples of comparing a child that has anemia to a child that doesn't have anemia. So trying to make it accessible and visual for someone to learn. And then doing the family visits. And there's a lot of recognition that goes with being the reference family. And so just being the celebration of knowing that you're a part of it and learning from each other, peer-to-peer learning was a very large aspect of this project.
Acá también quería comentar, por ejemplo, en la fotografía de la visita al centro de salud, vemos allí unas maquetas que han sido desarrolladas por el propio personal de salud para poder explicar de mejor manera cómo afecta la anemia a la salud de los niños o de los adultos, ¿no? Estas son maquetas elaboradas por ellas mismas en esa búsqueda de que las familias puedan tener una mejor comprensión de cómo afecta la anemia.
So in this example right here, so these visuals right here are actually developed by the person presenting them. So this person makes this so they can have a better way of explaining how anemia affects not just children, but adults as well. So they've developed this so it's easier to explain how the effects of anemia occur or what happens from the effects of anemia. And then it helps them when they go and do the family visits.
Y también en la segunda imagen de las visitas a los grupos de madres está presente la ministra de Desarrollo o Inclusión Social visitando, ¿no? Que es la señora que está de chompa roja.
This lady here, she's from the Ministry of Development. She's visiting as part of the learning group to learn about how this is happening. So there's amount of recognition that's coming to the different groups so that even the ministry is learning from them.
Gracias. Thank you. Next, please. Experiences expansion. I comment that this program start in the Ayacucho region, in the rural areas, the first, but in other moment, this experience se escaló, se expandió hacia otras regiones del país.
So it started in the Ayacucho region, but it's been scaled and expanded to these other regions that you can see the different arrows too. So this is the regional center of reference. And so for the internships they call them internships, is for the exchange, they've been having visitors from these different regions come and visit them.
And this is a news where different regions are implementing the strategies to reduction of anemia. Lo interesante es que en estas regiones donde donde están haciendo el escalamiento, también están teniendo un impacto significativo, ¿no? En la reducción de la anemia.
So Alex is saying, even in these regions where they have gone and visited and they've implemented this, they've had a significant impact of the learning that they've brought from going to learn from this community. They've already had a significant impact to show the success.
Y como han visto, como ven en las noticias, uno de los productos principales, ¿no? Que se está difundiendo es el charqui de sangre, o el charqui de sangrecita, que es una técnica ancestral rescatada y que es de fácil apropiación, ¿no? En las familias rurales.
So he's even showing, like, here there's a center of how to go ahead and make blood jerky, and how it's an ancestral technique that is being taught and brought back.
Many things, everywhere.
So now we're gonna go to I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and we're gonna go to the question part of this. So Jenny, if you wanna join us.
First of all, thank you so much for sharing your project, Alex. It's wonderful, and I think a really, really awesome example of how scale and works in community, which is great. First question is actually from Lindsay, and I can usually translate it in Spanish, so we're gonna try. So she is
Thank
asking, how are the children consuming the blood jerky? Is it in powder form, or are there like multiple ways for them to consume it? Because it is such a strange product, I think, that aren't in Latin America.
Al momento que sacrifican a los animales, usualmente eh, se botaba la sangre. Entonces era una pérdida de un alimento rico en hierro, pero tampoco sabían cómo conservarlo. Entonces es allí que empezamos a buscar en libros del antiguo Perú de cómo los incas procesaban este tipo de alimentos para poder conservarlos.
Okay. We'll start right here. So one of the first things is that when animals are butchered, what happens is they would capture all of the blood and they would put it in bottles. But in order to find out exactly how to process it, they looked in Incan texts, old Incan texts, to see how to go ahead and to conserve it, how to go ahead and keep it shelf stable for it to be consumed later. So that's where they started with finding the information to the old ancestral knowledge that was being brought back. Vale.
En la época de los incas, cada cierto periodo subían a las alturas cientos de personas y hacían cercaban a los animales, los cercaban, dejaban irse a los animales más jóvenes y a las hembras, y a los demás animales los sacrificaba, y con sus técnicas de conservación mantenían la carne, las vísceras y la sangre.
Okay, so when they would raise at the higher altitudes, when they would raise animals, they would go ahead and keep the females, and then the other ones would be the ones that were butchered. And so those animals are the ones that they would go ahead and they would keep everything. Even Alex taught me a word in Spanish that I had never heard before through this entire process called the buffet, which is actually the thoracic cavity. And so all of the organs that are in the thoracic cavity are extremely rich and high in iron, including, so all the, and we're going to get graphic here. So for those of you that may not be ready for this, but all of the blood vessels, all of those things that transport the blood are also maintained because they're going to be dried. So it's not just the blood, but all of those things that have been carrying the blood because they're also high in iron. Vale,
Entonces,
Alejandro.
una vez que se rescató cuál es la técnica de conservación, eso se nuevamente enseñó a todas las madres y lo empezaron a implementar. Entonces, antes, por ejemplo, vendían un animal, lo vendían vivo y el comprador se lo llevaba vivo, ¿no? Pero después de esto, dijeron, ya no lo voy a vender vivo, lo voy a sacrificar, voy a conservar la sangre y las vísceras y que se lleve el animal muerto, pero ya se está quedando con productos ricos en hierro.
So one of the things that they did before is they would go ahead and sell an animal live. And so when they sold an animal, they would go ahead and sell it knowing that it was going to be consumed. But then one of the things that they changed is they went ahead and they would sell it dead, taking all of the blood, all of the thoracic, like the veins and things like that, and they would keep those and then just pass on the rest of the meat or the body. But they would maintain those things that were rich in iron.
Sí, y una vez que tienen, por ejemplo, ya la sangrecita, ellos en una olla echan la sangre le echan un poco de sal y lo hacen hervir. Una vez que termina de
So
hervirse, botan el agua y lo hacen secar.
okay, so one of the things that they would do is they would take the blood, put it in a pot, put in a little bit of salt, and they would boil it. And they would go ahead and boil off the water. And then they would maintain the rest of the things. And so it would be a dried substance at that point.
Lo hacen
Pero
secar y lo
Alejandro,
guardan.
and then and once it's dried, they would go ahead and save it. Pero Alejandro, ¿cómo estaban dando a un niño para comer? ¿Cómo
Cuando,
estaba esto de la comida?
cuando están preparando una papilla para el niño, lo están preparando ahí en la olla o en la sartén, agarran una cucharada o 2 cucharadas de ese producto que ya lo tienen y lo echan a su comida y lo terminan de cocinar.
Okay, so when they were preparing food for a child, they would just take 1 or 2 spoonfuls and add it directly to the food that they're preparing, and then they would just serve it. So that's, I suppose, I'm going to be honest, I suppose you get accustomed because you, as a child, you haven't known anything different. And so this is the way that you grew up, and you develop your taste based off of what you were raised with.
Como es un producto que tiene un sabor neutro, lo echaban ya sea a una papilla salada o una papilla dulce y no cambia el sabor. Se lo daban al
So
niño.
it doesn't change the flavor. It's a salty, like it's a neutral flavor. So it doesn't cause any problems.
So we have a question about, and you talked a little bit about this, but like the question came in before you got to those slides, but we want to hear more about how the scaling occurred by one community learning from another community. And so beyond the training and the formal program that you had, what else was happening to make sure that the communities were learning from each other and providing the
Sí, era parte del plan. Naturalmente, teníamos que tener primeramente, para poder escalar, tener el Scale One, ¿no? Y tener los centros modelos. Entonces, eso fue el primer centro modelo, el Scale One, was Higuaín District, ¿no? Entonces, todos los primeros esfuerzos fueron trabajar en Higuaín con los estudios cuantitativos, cualitativos, y empezar a encontrar esas estrategias para empezar a implementar, ¿no? Y una vez que empezó a tener estos éxitos Higuaín, empezamos a llevar nosotros primeros a hacer el escalamiento nosotros. O sea, a través del programa. Hicimos otro distrito que fue la zona de Vilcabamba, los llevamos a Higuaín, empezaron a aprender y salieron motivados y lo superaron Higuaín. Y de ahí fuimos, escogimos otra zona donde el nivel de anemia es el más alto del país, que es Puno, que está en la zona más alta, que tenía casi 100%, y dijimos, ojalá que funcione con ellos. Y ellos fueron a Higuaín, visitaron nuevamente, 2 veces fueron a Higuaín, se llevaron las estrategias, la adaptaron y son los resultados que tenemos, ¿no? Pero sí era parte del plan del programa. Ya luego de eso, en otras regiones, por los éxitos que han salido en los periódicos, en la televisión, otras regiones estuvieron interesadas y ya han visitado, ¿no?, a estos centros modelos y se han replicado, digamos, que ellos la experiencia.
So the first center, that's where the research was done and the initial plan. And so what happened is there was several iterations. So the first situation in Higuaín is where it started. And as they learned, they invited other communities to come and learn and then go out. And so it was always part of the scaling plan to have other communities come and learn. And the interesting part is some of the communities that had even worse anemia came to learn and were motivated to learn from their peers because it's peer-to-peer learning. And they were able to have even better results than the first center of reference. And the higher up, the one that had the 98% reduction of anemia, when they had them come to learn, they were like, well, let's see if this really works. And they were the ones that had the best performance of how this all went about. So the scaling was always part of the plan. And now as things have continued on, other regions have come and done the internship, the interchange of knowledge, where they would come and visit, and then they visit each other as well. And so they do from one location to another location learning of how things go, or how the program has performed. I know that was one question. I'm going to ask this one really quick, if you don't mind, Jenny. Laura Altobelli is here. Thank you, Laura. Ella quería saber dónde puede comprar el jerky de sangre para los que están viviendo de las urbanizaciones, las zonas que están urbanos, que no están afuera. ¿Hay sitios donde puede comprarlo o no?
Sí hay. Ahora están habiendo ya productos disponibles de sangrecita en la zona urbana. Sin embargo, en la zona urbana, en las partes más periurbanas, existen poblaciones pobres que no pueden acceder a estos alimentos. Entonces, hemos empezado unas prácticas. Bueno, ya lo empezamos hace el año pasado, pero todavía no llegamos a, a poder, bueno, a ver, productos que uno puede encontrar en el supermercado, sí hay, sí están empezando a ver, ¿no? Para las personas que tienen capacidad económica. Bueno, ese es uno.
Okay, so first of all, you can buy blood jerky in a supermarket for those that actually have the economic ability to do so. So they are available. Now I'm going to let Alex finish, because I'm sure he has an explanation for those that may not have the economic ability. So.
Ahora, para las familias más pobres que no pueden poder acceder a esos alimentos, lo que están haciendo es acudir a los mercados y en los mercados comprar sangre de pollos, principalmente, porque van al mercado y ahí sacrifican a los pollos y pueden recuperar la sangrecita. Antes lo regalaban y ahora lo venden por kilos, ¿no? Y pueden procesar.
Okay.
Procesan la sangrecita. Los que saben lo pueden procesar y mantenerlos, ¿no? Por mucho tiempo. Y otros lo preparan así en el mismo instante.
Okay. So for those that have less economic ability, they buy from the market. They will go ahead and buy chicken blood, because they can go ahead and process it themselves and create it. Before it was given free, but now some sell it by the kilo. So it is something that can be bought and then processed themselves to be consumed later, and using the techniques that he was explaining.
Y en último, para familias de medianos ingresos, lo que estuvimos haciendo un ensayo hace un año con una universidad, San Ignacio de Loyola, acá en Lima, es cómo se puede hacer el tanque de sangrecita en un horno microondas. Estamos haciendo las pruebas desde el año pasado, porque depende de la capacidad del horno, ¿no? Que son de diferentes potencias. Entonces, eso es lo que estamos tratando de ver. Un horno microondas de tal potencia, esto sería la forma, de tal potencia, y esto, para que lo puedan hacer también en sus casas.
So one of the things that they're doing right now is they're doing studies to see how they can do making the jerky, blood jerky, in microwaves and ovens, depending on the power of each device to see how it could be done to make it more accessible. Sorry, that's really cool. So I'll go ahead and let Jenny, you can go ahead and keep asking.
Yep. So I will go to another question that should be fairly straightforward. So folks want to know, so anemia has impact on other diseases and other contagions. If you're anemic, you have a harder time fighting off other things. And so Daniel would like to know, Dr. Taylor would like to know where the greatest impact was on these other contagions or diseases as a result of the interventions.
Sí, definitivamente. Lo que sucede es que uno de las consecuencias, ¿no? de tener anemia es la disminución de la capacidad inmunológica de los niños, ¿no? Entonces, eso hace de que puedan estar igual afectos a otras enfermedades de su entorno, ¿no?
One of the slides that we took out from this presentation was the additional effects of anemia, which were actually being more susceptible to other diseases. And being more severely ill when you catch something, which can have a higher rate of mortality and other things for children, not just children, but as you become adult. So it was something that we stayed on some of the largest things, but some of the secondary effects are.
A ver, yo creo que a ver, para tratar de hacerme entender mejor, hay algunas enfermedades que pueden estar asociadas a anemia a nivel de causas, ¿no? Por ejemplo, porque la anemia ocurre porque hay bajo consumo de hierro en su gran mayoría, ¿no? Casi 800.000 millones de personas sufren de anemia. De esos 800.000 millones, de 800 millones de personas que sufren anemia, el gran porcentaje es por deficiencia de hierro. Otro grupo, un poco más pequeño, es por deficiencia de otros nutrientes, ¿no? Vitamina B12, vitamina B6, etc. Y otros están asociados a enfermedades, ¿no? Malaria, paludismo, VIH, etc. Y otras condiciones también ayudan a que las personas puedan tener anemia, ¿no? Pérdidas sanguíneas, ya sea por parásitos o en el caso de las mujeres por sangrado menstrual y otras enfermedades, ¿no? Todo eso hace que la persona pueda tener anemia. Una vez que la persona tiene anemia, una de las cosas que va a ocurrir es, aparte de, si es un niño, la afectación de todo el desarrollo, ¿no? cerebral, con las consecuencias, ¿no? de disminuir su coeficiente intelectual, la pérdida de la atención, la memoria, todo lo que hemos conversado. También la disminución de sus habilidades sociales, menor interacción, ¿no? con otros niños, menor exploración del territorio, etc. Esa es una. La otra es que van a disminuir su capacidad inmunológica, con lo cual están afectos a cualquier enfermedad que pueda haber en el territorio, ¿no? Si, por ejemplo, en una zona estamos llenos de personas con tuberculosis, entonces, naturalmente, ese niño va a estar más afecto a hacer tuberculosis, porque es la bacteria que está en su entorno, ¿no? Entonces, va a depender, digamos, que dónde esté la persona, sus defensas bajas y las enfermedades que estén a los cuales pueda estar afecto, ¿no?
So to answer Daniel's question, so besides the things that we had already previously, or Alejandro already mentioned about the cognitive development and like the motor skills and things like that, they have a weak immune system. And so depending on the location of the child, of where they live, is going to be what drives what they are going to catch, because they have a lower they're immune deficient. So it's hard to say exactly which thing they're gonna catch, but it's more likely based off of the local climate of where they're at. So if you're in an area that has tuberculosis, you're more likely to have tuberculosis and you're gonna have it worse than someone who is not anemic. So it depends on, that's connected to the location of where you're at versus anemia as the root cause. Sorry, Jenny, go ahead.
No, thank you. So glad we have your translation skills. Another really straightforward question. So where can we get a copy of the publications associated with this study and the project in both Spanish and or English?
Mainly in Spanish, only in English, the economic impact of anemia in Peru. Also the cultural perspective of the anemia, maybe two. The others in Spanish. Sorry.
I know I have access to some of them because you shared them with me. But so Action Against Hunger has them readily available in Spanish. On their website, they can be found. Only certain studies, particularly the economic study, is available in English, the rest of them. And he said possibly the cultural study might be in English. The rest of them will be mainly in Spanish.
Thank you. Next is, so what was the range of motivating factors for participants? So what caused the parents to opt in with their children into the study?
A ver, sobre el tema de los estudios, digamos que uno de los primeros dificultades que tuvimos era con relación a no tanto a las familias, sino al personal de salud de las regiones, porque los valores de prevalencia que se empezaron a encontrar eran mucho más altos a los que ellos tenían en sus registros. Y eso era porque había dificultades en las técnicas de determinación del nivel de hemoglobina. Entonces, cuando hicimos los primeros estudios y salieron valores bastante altos, dijeron que esos no eran los valores, ¿no? Así que tuvimos que volver a hacer en un trabajo con ellos mismos, ¿no? Ver la parte metodológica, incluir también otras organizaciones especializadas en el tema, y se hizo y se determinó que los valores que ellos tenían eran valores que estaban subvalorados, ¿no? Entonces, digamos que la primera resistencia fue a nivel de los servicios de salud.
So the first issue with doing the studies were not necessarily the families, but actually the medical centers themselves, because there was discrepancies in the rates of hemoglobin. And so that was one of the first hurdles in doing the studies.
Después, en los estudios cualitativos, eran básicamente estudios etnográficos donde el equipo de evaluación convivía con ellos durante aproximadamente 4 o 5 meses. Entonces, como que ya eran parte de la familia y no había, bueno, en realidad son muy afectuosos, ¿no? En las comunidades, y no hubo ningún problema en que puedan estar casi conviviendo con ellos. No dormían en las casas, pero llegaban desde muy temprano y estaban con ellos durante 4 o 5 años. Y vivían en la misma comunidad, ¿no?
So the people that went to do the studies were actually living in the community for 4 or 5 months. And so they weren't living with families, but they were actually participating in the community, and they were there very early in the morning. And so they were part of the community during this time.
Y sí, sí tuvimos mucho cuidado al momento de hacer la determinación de nivel de hemoglobina, porque los niños reciben un pinchazo en el dedo, ¿no? Entonces se tuvo que ser muy cuidadosos e informar a las autoridades, a los padres, a las madres, que eso era el procedimiento. Y una vez que estuvieron bien informados y sabían la importancia de conocer, ¿no? Saber si tenían anemia o no, digamos que no tuvimos, digamos que problemas para recoger información.
So one of the things that he said, or that he was explaining, is that they had to be really careful about informing families about the hemoglobin level, because children had to get, to get the blood, you have to take a sample, and it's a needle to the finger. And so they were very careful in how they did it. They were very careful in how they approached and informed the families and kept them so that to avoid issues. So I mean, I remember having to get those stupid things too. So I didn't like them either. I think that's
Claro,
a global feeling.
la, la condición que pusieron los padres o las madres dijeron, ya, le van a pinchar a mi niño, pero en ese momento quiero saber cuál es el resultado.
Oh, they wanted to know the results right at that moment.
Eso quería saber,
Wow.
cómo estaba el niño. Pero
Oh,
después
wow.
todo.
All right, so the final question is so CLAS, which is a community-focused health management approach that Peru has pioneered itself. What was the relationship, if any, between this project and this program and the CLAS approach?
No necesariamente, en el sentido que eh, claro, los establecimientos CLAS son establecimientos del Ministerio de Salud y tenemos, claro, casi 2.500 establecimientos de salud tipo CLAS. En los ámbitos de donde se desarrolló el programa, tuvimos sí establecimientos CLAS y establecimientos también no CLAS. Pero lo que sí es cierto es que los establecimientos CLAS eran los que en un primer momento se desarrollaron más rápidamente la estrategia, ¿no? Y sí ayudaron a que los demás establecimientos tuvieran una mayor motivación porque los llevábamos a hacer pasantías. Entonces sí tuvieron la motivación de que sus compañeros también lo podían hacer, de que también podían trabajar con las comunidades, podían trabajar con sus autoridades, hacer estas maquetas y hacer el mismo trabajo. Pero sí fueron, digamos que claves en el sentido de que fueron los primeros implementadores.
So there was and there wasn't. The ones that had CLAS in the communities were able to process the knowledge and internalize it and use it and had more success quicker than those that didn't have a CLAS, because sometimes not all the communities had CLASs. So I think that that's important to know, that that was not a uniform factor in all of the communities, but those that had them performed better.
Alex, this is Daniel. I am just
Ay,
so
Daniel,
I am so thrilled, absolutely thrilled and honored. I want to say it first, you are a friend of my father's, and he would be so proud to see what you're doing with anemia. It was a special interest of his. And anemia also is a very common issue in the mountains. And I suspect that's there. But so I just want to open by just how happy I am to see you, former student, but most importantly, a dear colleague and a long-standing who's been with the Future Generations University and before for many decades. Having shared my appreciation, my question here is, what is the synergism between anemia?
Acronym.
What is the synergism between anemia and the well-being of children, especially? Is it improving or getting worse as the population grows in Peru?
the anemia Peru is not improved de manera significativa. A ver, creo que lo voy a decir en español. Ah, en este momento tenemos prevalencias de anemia todavía bastante altas, especialmente en la zona rural, ¿no? Y ahora también en la zona urbana, debido a la migración que ha habido de personas, ¿no? Y en la zona urbana, especialmente en las zonas más periurbanas, tenemos todavía niveles bastante altos de anemia.
So there hasn't been a significant improvement. One of the first slides shows it's only been like a 7% improvement. And there's still like a 10% differential in between the urban and the rural populations. So it has gotten better, but slightly, not a lot. basically.
Otras
However,
que,
ay, pero Alejandro, si quieres seguir.
ok. No, ahora mi reflexión es que eh, en general creo que las intervenciones claves necesarias para reducir la anemia ya están establecidas y están establecidas en los planes nacionales y en las recomendaciones, ¿no?, que hace UNICEF, hace la Organización Mundial de la Salud. La dificultad que veo es en la implementación, porque la implementación requiere de estrategias de cambio social y eso lamentablemente muchas veces no se maneja y al final son las familias quienes tienen que tomar una decisión informada, ¿no?, de una manera comprensiva para poder adoptar una práctica, ¿no? Entonces, existe una brecha entre lo que son las intervenciones que ya están definidas y su implementación. Y para mí esa brecha son esas estrategias de cambio social que se tienen que implementar y que se tienen que ir adaptando de acuerdo a cada contexto, ¿no? Será una forma en el área rural, otra forma en el área urbana, otra forma en el área eh, en la jungle area, ¿no? Habría que encontrar esas formas, ¿no?
So Alejandro is saying that there's like a disconnect between the national plan and the context because it doesn't address the social change that needs to happen. And there's different contexts between rural and urban contexts. And so there's not a plan that addresses the social change that needs to happen from the family perspective, and how that is going to, and how it is adapted to the different contexts. So there's a gap in between the two.
Y voy a terminar con una cosa, y con eso ya me voy a callar. Si me preguntan a mí si la anemia tiene solución y la anemia se puede reducir, la respuesta es sí. Pero se tiene que reducir trabajando en el nivel familiar, comunitario y local. No basta con ir al ministerio, sentarse y modificar una norma, porque eso se queda en el papel. O sea, los cambios trascendentales es trabajando con la familia, las comunidades y los tomadores de decisión a nivel local, ¿no? Y a partir de eso, si la anemia tiene solución a nivel local, y se seguirán construyendo más soluciones y más territorios sin anemia, ¿no? Pero empezando así, a nivel local.
So if you were to ask Alejandro if anemia can be solved, his response would be yes, but it has to happen at the local level, taking into the context of the local level, and it can't just be a governmental decision at a national level saying this is what we're going to do, because it's not taking into consideration the local context that people are in. And so it's only going to happen at the local level and then spreading from different communities. That's what he's seen has worked.
Hello, everybody. Laura Altopoli calling in from Peru. And congratulations to Alejandro for this really great project and program and presentation. And just so everyone knows that Alejandro was part of our family, part of our team in the first years of our projects of Future Generations in Peru. And then he went on to work more specifically in nutrition, which has resulted in this fantastic strategy for working in anemia, which is one of the biggest problems here. And the idea of working with rural communities on their traditional customs and beliefs of eating the sangrecita or the blood is extremely important, and how they got the communities to change that cultural practice, which is the major issue of in many things, how to change cultural practices and how to get that social norms changed and the beliefs changed to the families. And so this is also true in urban areas. If you recall the the prevalence of anemia is almost as high in urban areas as it is in rural areas, slightly lower because people are more educated, but it's still extremely high. And you also have the same cultural beliefs about not wanting to eat blood products. And so I think that this whole idea and this whole presentation that Alejandro has hopefully will move the Ministry of Health to change its strategy now, which even though it's in the norm, the national plans to have a lot of different interventions as what he showed on one of the slides. But one of the main intervention is that they want to give iron supplements to children, to infants ages 4 to 5 to 6 months. And that's really not working. They've been doing that for about 5 years, and you can see that the level of anemia has not changed. So obviously, we need a new strategy. And I think that once the Ministry of Health starts pushing this idea of changing the eating habits to give blood products to children, I think that we'll probably finally see a change. And so that would be thanks to Alejandro and his team. And I think in the future that we'll see a lot of better results on anemia, which is incredible, not just high in Peru, but it's all over the world. So I think this has a potentially global importance, and it needs to be disseminated, and it needs to be in the published literature. And so congratulations. I'll stop there.
And thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Sí, lo que puedo comentar ahí es que en algunos momentos creo que la orientación para el combate de la anemia fue principalmente, y creo que sigue, o sea, en realidad cuando empezamos a ver los lugares, las localidades, ¿no?, del interior del país, que todavía en el personal de salud persiste el enfoque médico, ¿no? Y claro, poco a poco se está avanzando en la parte de prevención en salud, ¿no? Pero eso va a tomar su tiempo y creo que eso es un factor importante porque se cree que dándole las pastillas de hierro a las personas, ¿no?, para las gestantes o para los niños, el problema está solucionado, ¿no? Y no es tanto así, porque en este caso particular de la anemia, la solución de la anemia está en las manos de las personas, ¿no? Porque la mamá o la señora todos los días tiene que tomar la decisión de consumir o no consumir. Entonces, la solución está en la familia, la solución está en la persona, ¿no? Y en tanto las estrategias que se vayan a generar no lleguen directamente a las familias, va a ser muy difícil, ¿no? Porque esa parte es importante, ¿no? La concientización, la comprensión y al final la toma de decisión, ¿no?, de la esposa o de la señora o de la mamá, ¿no?, para que le dé al niño. Entonces, creo que hay mucho por trabajar. Esta experiencia de este programa es un granito de arena que dice que sí pueden haber algunas alternativas que pueden funcionar, pero que sí, falta trabajar mucho todavía.
I'm going to translate that and then we're going to wrap up. But Alejandro has a great point that there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of information that has to get into the hands of mothers, and at the end of the day, it's making sure that they take the decision to go ahead and either use the strategy or not. But this is one strategy that does work. And so but it also requires that people actually act, and mothers act to go ahead and take this supplement or another supplement. So that's an important thing of, like, first it's knowledge. second is the actual action that people have to, the social change for the behavior change that they have to do themselves. I am going to share one last slide because we're going to finish up. This is our next success sharing session. It is on July 9th at 1 p.m. UTC, which is 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Kimberly Pettigrew will be presenting on co-ops and particularly the success that they had in Knoxville for creating food security during COVID, actually having a community that was food secure and not an issue for in a time that many different communities did have food insecurity. And so she has a wonderful case example that she's going to be sharing with us on July 9th. If you guys have an opportunity to attend, that would be great. And so without further ado, I want to go ahead and thank Alejandro. Muchísimas gracias para presentar hoy. It was a pleasure. I really enjoyed hearing everything that you had to say and learning. And thank you, Jenny, for moderating and Lindsay for being on tech and getting this success recorded. I wanted this success recorded ever since I heard it the first time. And so I'm just excited to be able to now have it and be able to send it off to others. So thank you so much for participating. And I hope that you all have a wonderful day.